Want to know a secret? We're going to make fall Dollar Tree DIYs today. Don't want to miss it? Then keep watching. For this project, I'm going to be using one of these easels that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. It was over in the picture frame area, kind of by the wedding stuff. And I'm just using a regular piece of scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, and it's the buffalo check. For some reason, this video made the paper look holographic, but it isn't. It's just regular buffalo check paper. So I'm using a glue stick to glue my paper onto the chalkboard. I don't like to use Mod Podge. I'm just not very good at getting the wrinkles out, and I find that the glue stick works just as fine on any kind of wood type projects with paper, so that usually is my go-to. So I'm using a sanding block from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to get off any excess paper that's on the edges, and then I'm ready to move on to the next part of the project. So I'm going to be using some of these ornaments that they have over at the Dollar Tree. They have them for every holiday, and they're always so cute. The fall ones were super adorable. So they had like a latte looking one, they had a pumpkin, and they had this fox, and I thought the fox was adorable. So I'm going to use the fox today, and I'm just using some Plaid scrapbook paper that came from a paper pack from Hobby Lobby. That paper pack is amazing. If you missed my video where I made the paper cone wreath, I will list that up here in the cards. I use the same paper pack, and it's just adorable. I just am really finding that I love the paper in there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the fox cutout that I did on the paper onto our fox, and then I'm going to use some ribbon I had in my stash. So this ribbon I actually bought from Michael's for Easter, and the thing I love about some types of ribbon is they can be really universal. So I use this at Easter time. It's also appropriate for fall. So if you're going to splurge on some crafting items, I totally suggest ribbon, like buying ribbon that you can use multiple seasons. So you always get that vibe. Like I love some of the red and white buffalo check ribbon that they have at the Dollar Tree. That could be used for Christmas and Valentine's. So I always try, if I'm going to splurge on ribbon at Hobby Lobby, I try to buy ribbon that I know is going to be, multiple uses. So once I get my bow made, I'm going to go ahead and glue it onto the middle of our fox's neck. And then I'm taking a tumbling tower block, and I'm going to glue it on the back, and I'm going to attach that to the front of the easel, and then this project is complete.
Someone did you wrong. I can see it in your eyes. It's like your fire is gone. Across your face, it is written across your face.
Ever seen these at the Dollar Tree and you're like, what do people make with these? Well, the next DIY is this project. If you're liking the video so far, make sure you hit the like button so other people have a chance to see it, and let's go find out what I made. So for this project, I'm going to be using 3 of these kind of the medium large sign, I don't know, the medium long sign from Easter, and I'm just removing the back parts of it, and then I also removed like the foam pieces that were on the other side as well. And I'm just going to use my favorite wood glue, which is the Type Bond 3. I use this all the time. I love it. It works amazing. So I glue all 3 of the pieces together, and I just go ahead and give it some time to kind of dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next part. The only thing that I would suggest if you're going to remake this is to maybe sand the top of the sign. I didn't even notice, you're going to see when I use my spray paint, that there was like some rough spots at the top until I started using the spray paint. But I mean, I love how it turned out. So if you don't mind, then don't worry about it. But if you're someone who's like, ooh, then make sure you sand. So then I'm just taking my brown spray paint, and I'm going to spray paint this entire piece. Where I had the wood glue, I probably could have waited a little bit longer for it to dry, but where there is some glue there, it picks up the spray paint a little differently. But that's okay, because we're going to cover it up and you're not even going to be able to notice. So I'm going to take that felt pumpkin and I'm going to use my gold spray paint, and I'm going to go over the top of this foam or felt piece with my gold spray paint. So I go around the pumpkin in between where the little slits are, and then I go ahead and do the rest of the wood piece as well with the gold piece, so that the only part of the brown that's showing is our pumpkin. So I'm ready to make a bow, and I'm going to use messy bows today. I just thought they were fitting for this project. So I took a few different types of ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to lay them down. So I thought it would be good to have a patterned ribbon, then a solid ribbon, and then another type of patterned ribbon. So I'm using two types of plaid ribbon here, and at first I was like, I don't know, if plaid on plaid, but these two were enough of a different color that I thought that they actually worked together. So I'm using my twine. I'm just going to tie it. It kind of all goes together because these are big pieces of ribbon, but that's okay because we're going to fluff it out and all will be well. So I'm just going to tie it in a knot, trim off my twine, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to kind of fluff. So these are a little bit different fluffing than they are when you do like an actual bow, because you're not fluffing out the like middle bow pieces. We're just going to kind of fluff out just the ribbon itself, and then once I get it to look like a desired look I'm going for, then I'm going to go ahead and dovetail the ends, because that's going to give us a really easy high-end look. So I do every piece of ribbon, and then I'm ready to attach it. So my original thought was to attach it up at the top of the sign, but then I decided no, that I actually really liked it being tied around where the stem of the pumpkin is. So that's where I decided to glue it. I'm going to go ahead and make my own little bundle here of Dollar Tree greenery goodies. I also did this in another video, and I'll post that up here, where I made some wreaths and I made my own bundles. I like making my own bundles because I can put as many as I want in there, and I can put what I want in there, and I can make the stem shorter, which is kind of the purpose of why I always make my own bundle. So I'm just going to add some hot glue here to the sign. I'm going to go ahead, lay my bundle down, then I'm going to make sure that's attached pretty well. Then I glue my ribbon on top of that, and then to kind of finish it off, I'm just taking some of the excess pieces of those pumpkins where the leaves are, and I'm going to glue that kind of down to the middle of the bow, and I'm going to add a couple more pumpkins there, and then this project is complete. So the Dollar Tree has some really adorable vintage Halloween stuff out, and if you know me at all, you know vintage Halloween is my jam. So I had to pick up some, and I wanted to make a wreath. So I have never used one of these square wreath forms, and I thought I would try it out. Let me just tell you guys, this wreath is huge. So I went ahead and got 6 bundles of the Deco mesh. That's what I normally get for a round wreath, and I was going to see, just start with that and see how much I needed. So I'm using just this cutting mat that has a ruler on it, and I'm cutting my mesh at 6 inches. Now I know there's a lot of people who use rotary cutters. I even tried to use a rotary cutter this time. Either my blade is dull or I just am not doing it correctly, but it took a lot longer for me to use the rotary blade instead of the scissors, so I just use the scissors. If you have the rotary blade and you want to do that instead, you're more than welcome, but you're going to cut all 6 packages of your Deco mesh to 6 inches and then put them into bundles like I have here. So I'm just using some pipe cleaners from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut them in half. All I do is bend them in half. You can use scissors or wire cutters and just trim them. So I do a really easy method. All we're doing is rolling here. So if this is like you're intimidated by wreath making, this is the simplest wreath you could start with. So all you're going to do is roll your Deco mesh into a little bundle. As you can see, I'm just going from one side to the other, rolling it up and cinching it in my hand. Once I get 3 bundles, I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I put it around the bundles and I pull super tight, if you can see that here. So I use my fingers, I pull it back, it's super tight, and then I twist my pipe cleaners. Now, sometimes it can get a little difficult using the smaller pipe cleaners, especially when you get to the wreath form. If you are someone who has hand problems, you know, I do too, sometimes a longer pipe cleaner will work, and that's okay. You can trim it off in the back when you're done. So one more time, I'm going to show you that technique. I'm just rolling one piece and cinching it, and then I'm rolling a second piece and cinching it, and then I'm going to roll this third piece, cinch it up in my hand all together to make one bundle. Then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I'm going to wrap it around, and then I pull super tight so that there's like a space where my finger is in between the mesh and the pipe cleaner, and then I twist. So I have a super tight hold on my mesh. I'm going to do that for all of the deco mesh that I cut out. And then I'm ready to attach it to my wreath form. So like I said, I've never used this square wreath form before. Wasn't really sure how much of the deco mesh I was going to need. I decided to do the 2 outside rings and attach my deco mesh there. I don't know. I think if I make another one of these, I might try the inside rings because I felt like you could see a little bit of it. I had to kind of go back and fill in some of the areas. It could just be that I didn't put enough deco mesh when I was going around, because the little rings in between, they were kind of weird, and it's possible that I just didn't put him close enough to that. But all we're going to do is alternate between black and orange. So I tie on a black bundle, then I tie on an orange bundle, then a black bundle. You get the idea, and we're just going to go this first length so I can show you how many pieces there were. So after I counted, I believe there are 14 bundles there to go across. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them. This is what I got when I did my 6. So I still had one piece of the wreath that was left over. So I took one more bundle of orange, one more bundle of black, and I just did the same thing, cut them out, rolled them together, and filled in the rest of the wreath. So I'm using this truck that is a Halloween, and I didn't show you the front yet, but it's adorable. Like I said, I love vintage Halloween, and they had so many possibilities over there this year for decorating. I was super excited. So I'm just taking 4 full-length pipe cleaners and I'm gluing them to the 4 corners of our sign. I make sure that I have a generous amount of glue on these because sometimes they can pop off. So I put glue down on the sign, then I stick my pipe cleaner in the glue, and then I put glue over it just to make sure that it's really stuck on there well. So now I'm going to lay it on top of the wreath, and I'm going to kind of dig in there till I find the wreath form, and I put all 4 corners through part of the wreath. Then I'm going to flip it over so that I can attach it to the wreath form. So I was having a really hard time getting a good angle of this wreath so that you guys could see it, because I'm not lying, guys, this is like the biggest wreath. That wreath form, it didn't seem like it was that much bigger than the circle, but I think it is. So anyway, here we are. I have it attached to the 4 corners. I'm just twisting, and I make sure that I secure it really well to the wreath frame. So I don't add a lot of things to this wreath. I end up only adding some ribbon, and I make a couple bows here. Let me know if you would add anything else. I couldn't think of anything. Later on I thought maybe some plastic spiders would look really cute in there. I don't know. I love this truck, and I love the little pumpkin, skeleton, and cat that's in there. So for me, like, sometimes, you know, less is more. I kind of tend to be a minimalist sometimes. But you guys let me know, what would you put on the wreath? Like, would you add anything? Would you leave it the same way? I don't know. I think it's cute. You guys let me know. So I'm using some buffalo check ribbon and some chevron ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to use this striped ribbon that I got at Hobby Lobby. I loved this striped ribbon. It really said vintage Halloween to me last year when I picked it up, so I definitely had to use it again this year. But we're just going to make another messy bow, so I'm using some twine. I'm just going to tie it super tight in the back. It's going to cinch up like this. You're going to fluff it out once you get your knot tied in here in the back. And so to fluff out a messy bow, you're just going to kind of flatten the middle part as best as you can to like fan out the other ribbons. And then I'm just going to dovetail all the ends again for our high end look. So for this bow, I decided to go ahead and wrap the middle a little bit. Once I got that wrapped with another piece of the ribbon, then I go ahead and I'm going to use a zip tie this time. So I dig through my wreath and I find the wreath form, and then what I did was I used my zip tie, went through the back of the bow, and then I cinched it on the other side. So I tighten it super tight here, and then I just fluff it out, and I go ahead and trim off any excess of the zip tie. So I decided to go ahead and make another ribbon to go at the bottom of this wreath, and I'm using some Halloween ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I haven't been lucky enough to find any more Dollar Tree Halloween ribbon. I did find some fall ribbon this year, but I didn't find any Halloween ribbon. So all I'm doing is my crisscross bow here again. If you missed my tutorial on how to do that from my last video, I will link that up here in the cards. But all we're doing is crisscrossing and then accordion folding, and then we're going to use some twine. I just wrap mine pretty tightly around the middle a few times, and then I tie it off in a knot on the back. Once I have it tied off in the back, and then I go ahead and dovetail the ends, and then I'm going to fluff out the bow part. Now I use two ribbons here, which are like a witch's hat and then the Halloween pumpkin, and I wanted the witch's hat to show a little bit, so I did dovetail my pumpkin a little bit shorter than the witch's hat. But once I zip tie this one on, then this project is complete.
Just let it out, I'm by your side now. Just hold on a bit more, 'cause I know you only see the rain, not the rainbow. Deep down I know you're strong. Give them hell, baby, prove them wrong.
Can you believe we made today's projects with stuff from the Dollar Tree? Me either. I was like so excited to see all their vintage Halloween stuff this year. I'm a sucker for vintage Halloween. If you are too, check out this video right here. It is a vintage Halloween decor DIY that I did last year. Still in love with the project. You will be too if you haven't seen it. As always, wherever you are in your journey is a perfect place to start, and I will see you in my next video.